We are live. How are you doing tonight, Paulo?
We're okay.
All right.
It's really, really hot in here.
It's only kind of hot in here. 82 degrees at 46% humidity.
Here, there's no humidity, and we are on temperatures around 95.
Ah, yeah. I went out cycling once this morning, this week at 9 a.m. and it was 80 degrees with 80% humidity. That was the hottest I've been out so far. I was like, whew. It's amazing what that humidity is like once you're at, especially when the sun's shining. It's just like, whew. Because of course it's actually hotter than 80 degrees out in the sun with that 80% humidity. No fun, but still I get on my bike ride exercise for the day. Do. Got a bunch more comics this week. Got 8 comics this week.
They finally found the lost comics.
They got those like a couple weeks ago. I think when I had 14, that's when they found the lost comics. They actually came in for some reason when they lose a whole box of comics. Good evening, Wilson. When they lose a whole box of comics, they can get them in the very next week. If they have to reorder a damaged comic or something like that, it takes 2 weeks. Like, what is that? I don't know. I guess there's a rush when they lose the entire order. And how are you tonight, Wilson?
Living. I guess is
Living.
the best term for it. Just
He's still
frustrated
going.
with a lot of design stuff that
Ah,
basically an anniversary does not sneak up on anybody.
no.
When you're celebrating series. And so I don't understand why when I'm called in to help, everything's on fire and everything's a rush and you got to get this out. I rush to get it all out. And then when it's in their ball, when it's like, okay, I need new items to finish this off. Or
Oh, he's fading away on us.
Mm.
Looks like his internet isn't.
so
They
I
want him
don't
to get back to
know
this. Oh, you faded away on
doing.
us. Are you back? Oh, Splash Cage Comics is with us. Hello there, YouTubians.
That says.
Mr. White Gloves.
Mm-hmm.
I think Wilson is frozen. Oh, he's moving a little bit.
Is he coming back?
We'll have to see. Time will tell. And our death this week in comics was Michael Zulli.
Yeah, I heard. Which
Yeah.
still makes me feel really guilty because I still haven't read any of his comics.
Well, in your defense, he doesn't have a lot of comics.
Yeah, neither does the Rankling. I've read like 75% of those.
I brought down. Let's see. This was the first Puma Blues that caught my eye way back when. This cover with the mountain lion wrapped in the American flag.
Mm-hmm.
This is Puma Blues number 3. I'll give you a little of the interior art.
That's bigger than usual, right?
That's what?
That's not regular comic size.
No, this is regular comic size.
It is? Oh, that's bigger.
Aardvark Vanheim.
Although there is one Michael Zulli story which was published in Portugal, The Last Temptation of Alice Cooper.
Okay, yeah.
Which is kind of funny because the design for the book in Portugal was made specifically here for this publisher. by a guy I know who lives up north.
Okay.
And when Dark Horse reprinted the trade paperback, they asked permission to use that new design. It was just that good.
And this one originally came out in December 1986, circulation of 19,000. Not bad,
For an indie
I
comic,
think I'm not sure exactly when I got it. I probably got it sometime. Like, I don't think I bought it new the week it came out because I'd never seen it before, but I probably saw it sometime like in January, February, March. I remember I was at college. So I probably saw it, and I'm not even sure where I got it because still its original bag. I bought it at some comic shop that used a grocery gun for its pricing. It may have been like the comic shop where I went to college, which was Heroes World in White Plains, or maybe in someplace else. But I saw it. Of course, it was the cover that caught my eye. How many times did you see a comic book cover with a mountain lion on a crumbling building with an American flag draped over it? So it's like very eye-catching cover. And I think I went and tracked down the first two issues eventually and put it on my pull list. So I bought all the issues after issue 3. And it's a good. It's matter of fact. I even have, where did I put it? I like the Puma Blues so much that I bought a piece of Puma Blues original art sometime in the aughts. So this is comic size. Like the image area is around 10 by 15. Where is it? It's this way. You go. And this is, and I bought this off of eBay. Don't have a date on it. One of the reasons I wanted this page specifically was these flying stingrays were kind of one of the symbols of the Puma Blues. He used them more than once, Michael Zulli, and they kind of became a symbol because the Puma Blues has like environmental overtones to it. It's about this guy. It's kind of a weird story about this guy who works up in the Canadian wilderness monitoring environmental stuff because the environment takes place in the future and the environment's been going a little crazy. So he's taking measurements on acid rain and stuff. And he spots these, flying through the air stingrays, and that kind of becomes a symbol of life finding a way, life persevering despite the humans wrecking the environment. And he's not sure if he saw them. He's trying to find them. And like I said, I bought this. I must have bought this 15 years ago now or more. I wish I didn't. That's funny. I saved a. Because often nowadays, if I buy something, I'll save like a printout receipt. But for this, I saved the description, but not when I got it or how much I paid. Okay. I saved a description of the page. I'm like, why did I just save that? Amazing artwork in the first effort, 20 odd years from Michael Zulli's private collection. What page is it? Issue number 19, page 1, Puma Blues. Written by Stephen Murphy, illustrator, and it also has a nice hand-done logo on the side. Amidst wings, nice hand-done thing right there. So that's how much I like the Puma Blues. I bought an original page. And I also got this. I think I remember.
Yeah.
I got this one within the lifespan of our show. I remember showing it off here before. The Puma Blues.
And that's big.
Yeah, from Dover Press. Has a gore blimey look to that lettering. says 62 Lefty Blues. Yeah, it's very, and this what it's like 23, 24 issues are in, and the last couple of issues never got printed before in here.
Oh,
So really nice book, and it held up well. I remember when I read this a couple years ago, I very much enjoyed rereading it again. It held up well, and this is by Dover Press. What was the price? $35 list price. Of course, you can probably get it for cheap. Well, depends. I don't know if it's in print or out of print. Sometimes these things, when they go out of print, shoot up on price. Sometimes they never shoot up on price. Very strange. But you can get Michael Zulli. What's his name? Murphy is the writer. Stephen Murphy, Michael Zulli. Introduction by Dave. But one of the things I remember reading in this that was interesting was Michael Zulli kind of quit comics. And the reason he quit comics was nothing he was doing was getting published.
yeah. I've been looking up at some of his art. I don't think that people would be able to, editors would be able to understand his art.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of detail that he puts into everything, even more than P. Craig Russell used to do.
And he's also a wildlife artist.
Mm.
So there's a lot of wildlife.
Well, there's market for that.
Yeah. 62 Lefty Blues. I picked up Puma Blues too. Haven't started it yet. It's a good read. But it's like he was doing Puma Blues, and I think his first big break in the mainstream was going to be that issue of Swamp Thing that starred Jesus that got DC shelved.
Mm.
So it's like, and that kept happening to him. He'd have some big break coming from a company, and then the project would just get shelved. Until he finally went, why am I bothering? I think he did some, although he did do some work with Neil Gaiman on Sandman, I think.
Yeah.
But he never quite broke out into mainstream comics at all because...
Yeah, well, I guess that he thought that it could break into mainstream, but with Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
But those Marvel music comics were never properly marketed.
No. That one I don't even remember when that came out.
Around 94 or 95. That's when
was it with an Alice Cooper record, or did it come out to the comic shops? I don't remember.
I know that the KRS-One comic had a record. I can't remember. Since I never seen the original US editions, I don't know if The Last Temptation had a record. The Prince did the Prince comic have one?
Because I never saw that, and I was at Marvel at the time, and a Michael Zulli fan. So if it was around The Office, I would have gotten it. But I don't even think it was around The Office.
Right. Well, you're friends with Mortai. Should have saved you a copy.
Which makes me wonder how I never got a copy. And when it came out and where. And did it ever even make... Because if it had been like distributed to newsstands or direct market even, it would have come in the bundles and made it into The Office. I don't think it ever was. I don't think it ever did.
That's odd.
It may have gone out with like something special with Alice Cooper that wasn't in comic shops. Because I've never seen it, and I'm pretty sure I would have. I have seen the what was it? Marvel Premiere? Was that what there was one?
No, that was the 70s Alice Cooper.
Right. Was that Marvel Premiere?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That one I saw. That one I had. I didn't even know who Alice Cooper really was, and I got that comic. I mean, I knew he was like this, musician guy, but I don't. I didn't really know his stuff.
Yeah, but I guess just wasn't properly marketed, and
No.
I think that at the time, the whoever was in charge of distribution at Marvel's just said things only sell in the direct market. Everything goes to the direct market, when it makes no sense for the Alice Cooper to have that, especially because by this time, Sandman's already becoming a thing. I guess it's still not a thing because it's still 94. So Sandman had been no, it was already a thing. Yeah, Vertigo had already started, so Sandman was already a thing. So
and
a
also,
Neil Gaiman comic using a well-known figure from the world of rock and roll. Yeah, you have to be a complete idiot, and I guess they were.
well, what it was Marvel Music was actually a completely separate pipeline than the rest of Marvel Comics.
Yeah, but that's okay. The thing is, nobody told anyone about it.
Yes, and all the other editors resented Mork Todd because he wasn't under any of them. He was kind of his own thing with them. So I think that's why it probably never got distributed through. Because if he was like under, who was the editor in chief then? Tom DeFalco, was it still?
I think it was during that Marvolution stage. So there was no editor in chief.
Let's just say it was Tom, whoever. If Mort Todd was like under Tom DeFalco, it would have automatically gone to the direct market. But since he wasn't, I don't think it automatically did. I think Mort was probably working through alternate distributors, through music stuff, and it just never got out there.
But even then, I mean, it's not like this is something that you heard about. It would have reached people who don't usually read comics, and it doesn't seem to have happened.
Comic Truck. Good evening, President Putin, Vice President Trump. How's it going? It's going fine. It's going fine. Confetti for winning the presidency. Another Michael Zulli thing I got. This came out in 2008. This is a Neil Gaiman story.
I think I remember that.
The Facts in the Case of the Departure of Miss Finch. But despite looking like Michael Zulli artwork there, it's really painted inside. So it doesn't look like his other stuff on the inside.
Yeah, kind of funny. It looks more amateurish when it's painted.
Yeah. That's looking like Alice Cooper.
Yeah, right. Although the storytelling doesn't appear to have lost quality, but in terms of overall design,
because his painting is just not that good, and his drawing is kind of messier with the paint. It's like he's
yeah. Because sometimes you can see where he did all the etching, but under all the paint, it kind of gets lost, or it becomes noise.
His big cats are nice. Butt cheeks for all. It reminds me. What does it remind me of? Reminds me of a little bit of Wrightson's messier work.
Sure. But was Zulli one of the first guys to incorporate manga techniques in the US?
I think so. I don't remember Zulli doing anything manga.
But it looks like a lot of these scenes they kind of look like they kind of look like the more adult manga.
I don't see that in it.
That's the first thing I noticed.
But I don't know what which manga you're referring to. So Todd Klein on the letters. But yeah, I don't remember when I got this, but since it came out in 2008, it could be any time since then. And it is a second printing. No, it's the first one.
But when you open that
print.
Puma Blues number 3, it kind of jumped out at me. Looks like something you'd see in a Japanese comic.
Okay. But yeah, I think he was 71. They said. I didn't see what he died of or anything like that.
I don't think they said.
I don't think they said, but I think this is the last thing I saw by him. Because like I said, there's not a ton of stuff. And when was this actually collected, this Puma Blues? 2015. So it's been a little while now, but it took them a long time to get this collected. And it's weird because I'm used to it on this really cheap newsprint. And it's really cheap yellowed newsprint. But the book itself is glossy and very, very dark black ink.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got a completely different look to it than that, yellowed newsprint. And I swear this newsprint was like yellowed before, as soon as I got it. I don't remember Puma Blues ever being on like bright colored paper.
Yeah.
Yes, 80s. I wonder what comic shop I got this at. I just have no idea. Which comic shop used a grocery pricing gun? Because my regular local one didn't. And I know we used to occasionally over in Westchester, where I went to college, go and look for comic shops. Yep. Bummer news about Zulli. Sure is. Wow, never heard of that. Yeah, that one, I don't think many people have heard about that Mrs. Finch one. Agreed, black and white seems best for his ink. Yeah. Assuming you were getting Puma Blues when it was coming out, Jared? Yeah. I was just showing off here. The third issue was the first one I saw. This is the cover that caught my eye. So I tracked down the first two issues eventually and had it on my pull list from there on in. The Puma Blues. Good name, too. Good name. And I think the story goes that I was just reading again. Zulli and Murphy were looking because at the time, Dave Sim was looking for backup artists for Cerebus, and they thought they had a chance to get their stuff in the back of Cerebus. And Dave Sim was like, "Can you put out 20 pages a month? I'll publish it for you." And they were like, "Ooh." And then Puma Blues got caught up. I don't know if you remember the distributor scandal. That Cerebus got caught up. Do you have those TMNT issues? No, I've heard good things about them, but I've never seen them. It's like Wilson is back. You must have restarted everything.
I restarted everything. Hopefully that will work. If not, you guys have a great weekend. I'm going to the beach tomorrow.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
That's the plan.
Yeah, what was I about to say about the Puma Blues? I can't remember. I've bought it. It was on my pull list the whole time. I bought it. I was talking about the distributor scandal. It was about maybe a year after this when Dave Sim started putting out the Cerebus phone books. He was selling them direct. Like you had to buy the Cerebus phone book editions from Dave Sim. And the distributors, even Diamond, didn't like that. They wanted their cut. And Dave was like, I can't make any money selling them to you. I have to put up all this money up front, and you guys may or may not sell them. So then Diamond, some of the other distributors, well, if you're not going to sell us those phone books, we're not going to carry any of your comics. Your other ones, like they're still going to carry Cerebus because that one's so, but they specifically said we're not carrying the Puma Blues then. Screw you. So you had to get the Puma Blues through some of the smaller distributors. This is back when there were smaller distributors. But that was the big controversy at the time, with Dave Sim selling those collected editions directly to the consumer, and the Diamond, I think it was Diamond, did not, or maybe a couple of them did not like that because they were getting cut out of their rightful money as they saw it. So I found that interesting. I remember that. I'm trying to remember what comic shop I bought this from, Wilson, that used a grocery gun to price their comics. May have been one over in Westchester when I was in college.
I would guess so. It wasn't any of the city ones that I remember.
No. It was not any of my local ones that were. I don't remember them ever doing it. Huh. Though I did once go up to a comic shop somewhere up near Albany. When I was in college, probably around 20, and people used to come to the campus all the time and hang out, or friends of friends or whatever. And there was these two guys. What were their? I can't remember their last names, but their first names were Bill and Gish. I think Gish was a nickname of some kind. And they were both also working so they were like friends of a friend, and they were both also, I think, working in a comic shop. So it's like they would come down and hang out, and we'd, of course, talk comics. And they invited us to go up to their comic shop one weekend. So it's like my friend Ed and I, we drove up to their comic shop, which is like an hour or two away. I don't even remember. And we like hung out, like after hours, we were hanging out in the comic shop, looking at comics. I may have got it at that shop. I don't know. I have no memory.
Yeah, it's very well possible.
Who knows? Did you make it to the store this week, Wilson?
No, unfortunately not. Each day, again, the world was on fire. These things needed to be worked on. It needed to be quick. You got to get it done. It's like, okay, I need some files. Where are they? You should have got them. And it's like, if I tell you I need something, that means I need it. I don't have it. I spent Tuesday morning, all morning, looking for files to only find out they don't exist. Like, oh, you should have gotten this folder that has this in it. And going through it all, it's like, no. Going through it all, and find out the files that I need all exist in a PDF.
Oh.
And it's basically opening the PDF in Illustrator and grabbing the file I need. It's like, no, you're not supposed to do that. You're only supposed to do it this way. And it's like, yeah, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. You're not supplying me with what I need. And again, it's one of those things is that you work with some people that you know they're not reading their emails.
Right.
Because I asked for a clarification for something, and all I got was a cut and paste of what was requested. It's like, I understand what's requested, but I don't. That's why I need you to tell me what it is you actually need. This does not make sense. So little things like that, working with art directors, that basically you're aware that I work from home. I'm a freelancer who is not privy to the meetings that you've been to all week long before whatever it is you needed to call me in to come and help.
Huh.
So, and like I mentioned before, an anniversary does not sneak up on anybody. So
No.
there's no reason why this project should be everything's on fire, other than it's one of those things where you know who's ever at the high up, and I know who's at the high up, is going, it'd be a great idea. And then now it's late. And we went through that through Marvel many times,
Oh yeah.
where it'll be like, oh, let's work on this book. Oh, we're going to put it on a schedule. That would coincide with this. Now the book's late. The book was invented a day ago. How is it late already? and so it's that type of
Oh yeah.
things that are frustrating is the best word for it, because at the end of the day, it's basically, all right, here are the files. It's the best I can do, only to find out that by Friday at 5 o'clock, I get an email stating, we're going to need the following changes on all these things. Because, lack of a better term, it looks rushed. So it's like, oh, so, have this ready for Monday. And it's like, well, I'll work on it Monday, but I'm not going to work on it after 5 o'clock. So that's where I've been this. So no, long story short, I didn't pick up comic books, but I did get a new toy today because my brother went out and he came home and he picked up from Target a Whiplash.
Got a toy delivered.
I got a toy delivered to me. So this is Whiplash, and he's packaged in the retro Iron Man line from the cartoon series.
Okay.
So Hasbro Marvel Legends line is currently doing the Iron Man packaging, or retro packaging is what they call it. And I'm guessing because of the 40th anniversary of Secret Wars, we'll probably get some Secret Wars packaging next year. So Whiplash I got because Whiplash was in the very first comic book that I picked up to collect. Where it was like, before that I read comics, but I wasn't collecting.
Right.
And then when I decided, okay, I wanted to find out why Spider-Man had the black costume, I'm going out to search for some books.
I'm going to find out. Do some 007 type investigating.
Exactly. Mainly because the people, the kids who had comics. And I was like, oh, I like to read comics too. What's going on? And they're talking about Spider-Man changed his costume. And like, oh, cool. How did he change his costume? No idea.
Yeah.
He just like, one issue he had the regular costume, the next issue he had the black costume, and no one knew why, what happened. And like, all right, I'll go search for myself. Not really knowing how comic books work.
I actually got a Marvel comic this week.
Did you?
I did.
Oh, you know what? I think I know what it is.
What do you think it is?
I believe it's X-Men.
You got it. It's the Scott Koblish.
Because I watch your YouTube.
This is a second in a series. I still haven't gotten the first one yet, but my shop's trying to. This is their wraparound covers by Scott Koblish. And there's 3 comics, so there's like 6 covers in all, front and back, that have 600 X-Men in them.
So there are more covers to this cover that connects?
Yes.
Hey, is that a BIMF?
What was that?
There was a BIMF in there, in the back.
The
BIMF from the Nightcrawler miniseries.
Okay. Yeah, there's so many. I mean, holy cow.
I think in one of the stories within the last 10 years, I believe they did bring back a BAMF for a while. But it might have been another character disguising itself as a BAMF.
I find these covers he does fun. And since I know Scott, I'm like, you know what, I may as well pick them up. But it's I think the first one that I have whatever the second one, whatever the third one is, I have on my pull. I have pre-ordered already. But I missed out on the first one, slipped by me, which I think was like X-Men 75. It was like the last issue of an X-Men series. But I'm like I said, I'm still trying to track that one down, Roy. But this is the first issue of an X-Men series, and it's by the writer is Jed McKay. Don't even know who that is. The penciler is Brian.
He just came out of a very dry Avengers run, which was so boring. I mean, what the hell makes the Avengers boring?
Ryan Stegman is the penciler, whose name I know.
Mm-hmm.
Did he do some issues of Invincible? I can't remember.
Stegman's been all over in the last few years.
Oh yeah. I think he just came to Marvel. And there's a million There's a George Perez variant cover. How's that possible? But
probably something they had either in the files or just an old X-Men thing they pulled out. Because Kirby always has a cover every once in a while, so they can find a Perez one.
But the comic itself was okay. I just don't really get into the X-Men as a persecuted minority thing. That just doesn't ring true to me. It never has. Because how are mutants a persecuted minority when superheroes are beloved? How could you even tell the difference?
You can't.
Right. It only makes sense to me in a world without superheroes. Like, which is sort of how they did some of the X-Men movies and TV shows. It makes sense if they're the only ones who have superpowers, that they be some sort of person. But if you're a persecuted minority, wouldn't you want superpowers? That's like the best way to be a persecuted minority. There are tons of people who'd love to join that persecuted minority if it comes to superpowers.
They never did a what if, but they should have. What if Magneto had never attacked Cape Citadel? Nobody would know that mutants exist, so they would never.
So I just never bought, I never bought into that whole mutants are persecuted thing. I just like I said, but that's what the X-Men has really leaned into for the past, I don't know how many decades. And this one is the same way in that what island were they just living on that got sunk?
Krakoa.
Krakoa.
Yeah.
Well, now they've moved to Alaska, a small town in Alaska. So this whole issue, the storytelling is
What I put to the whole Storm is the Queen of Mars thing.
I don't know. You know way more about the X-Men.
They kept overcomplicating.
All I know is what happened in this. I don't know what happened not in this.
Yeah, the thing is the thing. You have you get your status quo to become so complicated. What do they do? Okay, let's ignore everything.
Well, one storyline is the Beast is meeting this small town sheriff in Alaska to try to smooth things over. And the kicker is they moved into a factory where people in the town used to build Sentinels. So the people in the town are all kind of pissed off because they lost their jobs. But their jobs were building killer robots. So the Beast is like, yeah, well, that really wasn't a job we appreciated. Then, of course, Magneto shows up, who they call Max, I think it was, for some reason. I'm like, when is he a Max?
He's been Max Heisenhardt for a while. There was some sort of origin miniseries where they finally reveal his past, and neither the name Magnus nor Eric Lensher are real.
So Hank McCoy, the Beast, is trying to be good cop. Then, of course, Magneto shows up, and he's bad cop. And Magneto's just like, he's just one of the X-Men now? It's just like, I don't know.
Hey, listen, in Krakoa, everyone was an X-Men. Sebastian Shaw was an X-Men. Magneto was an X-Men. Juggernaut was an X-Men. And the worst of all, Apocalypse was an X-Men.
They've got some, then besides that Hank McCoy thing going on, they've also got this Cyclops is leading an attack team on this factory, some other warehouse factory somewhere, to try and find some mutants, because Wolverine is held captive, and they detect like 4 other mutants in there that they're trying to rescue. And they've got some version of Juggernaut here on the team too. I don't know if it's Juggernaut because he's wearing a dark blue costume. He's got a giant X in his forehead, but some version of the Juggernaut.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is Kane. Yeah.
But it's this like sort of once again, it makes me feel I mean, here is this team of X-Men going up against some guys with guns. I'm just like, I'm feeling sorry for the humans. This is no persecuted minority. They're like just wiping out these guys who are just standing around. I don't even know what they're doing.
Here's the thing that didn't make sense when they were in Krakoa. So they all moved to Krakoa. It's now an independent nation, where every mutant is allowed. No humans are allowed. Then they start creating miracle drugs that they create artificial scarcity for. Whenever a mutant is attacked anywhere on the planet, they go in there and they wreck everything, saving that mutant. And then they come home and pretend, yes, we are a persecuted minority fighting for truth and justice. No, you guys are terrorists.
Well, here I think is the main push of this new X-Men. The main plot. There's this woman explaining to us that Fourth School, I guess their enemies in this is something called Fourth School. And Fourth School believes that the third species predicted by John Sublime, whoever he is, like I said, they explain some of it. So this
it's from Grant Morrison. It's from Grant Morrison's run.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess the first species is humans. The second species is mutants. And then the third species predicted by John Sublime is actually AI. This woman's saying. And so the Fourth School now needs to become the fourth species because they think AI is already lost. They want to become the fourth species, a mix of human, AI, and mutant. So I'm guessing whoever this Fourth School is, they somehow made mutants in there because they're trying to rescue these mutants, but it turns out these mutants aren't recently activated kids, they're adults. And Cyclops is like, how's that possible? How can adult mutants just happen? So somehow I think this Fourth School is going to be the villains of the piece, and they're making mutants so they can cross mutants with humans with AI to become the fourth species. I don't know what that all means.
Yeah, I guess neither does Jed McKay. It probably sounds really cool in his head, but
yeah.
The thing is, we're talking about writers who seem to think that Sex in the City is science fiction, or that science fiction and Sex in the City are the same thing. You actually need to be consistent applying rules of a universe if you want to write science fiction. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Oh, and it also comes with an extra page that you have to scan this to read the page.
Oh, come on. No. That doesn't work. Okay, I bought the comic. I want the comic. You better have all the pages. That makes absolutely no sense.
I didn't even know that until I read it somewhere on the internet because I didn't bother to scan whatever this thing is.
But is it an extra page at the end or in the middle?
It's an extra page at the end that's sort of an epilogue that has these 4 mysterious people who are behind things in the shadows. And of course, the internet knows who they are, but it was like Sabretooth and this guy and that guy and Professor X. And so I don't know if they're the Fourth School or what. It's getting too meta, says Undead Quinn. It's bad sci-fi. Yeah, it really wasn't a bad comic or anything. I'm just not going to, it's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
I bought it just for the Scott Koblish cover. But the art was fine. The storytelling was fine. But once again, I'm feeling sorry for these human beings with guns who are just getting blasted left and right by these superpowered mutants. It's like they got no shot. I really wanted to see. Did you ever read the book? What was it? Stormwatch Team Achilles.
No.
That was the one that I enjoyed it. It was a good book, but they didn't get to finish up the last story because the writer fudged his credentials.
Yeah.
He was not a military man that he claimed to be. But Stormwatch Team Achilles was about humans keeping superpowered people in line. And they were, soldiers with guns and stuff, but they had special equipment to handle the superpowered people, and they did handle them. I kept wanting those guys to show up and take out these X-Men who were I'm like, you're just killing these poor guys who are doing nothing but standing around their own property with their own rifles. Of course, they were torturing Wolverine inside, the bosses, but no, the X-Men had no reason to be there, but it's just like, it's not even a fair fight.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see the X-Men in a fair fight.
Yeah, but it's what they usually do when they invade some sort of military installation where supposedly a mutant is being held captive for supposedly experimentation. Just go in there. Okay, first let's get rid of the fence. Explode the fence. Team, go in. Wolverine, kill lots of people. Okay. Shoot them. That's not working. He's invulnerable. And they have Colossus running tank.
It's like not much of a fight.
Yeah, it never is. Not even if they fight, unless they're fighting S.H.I.E.L.D. And the plot calls for S.H.I.E.L.D. to take them down.
Right. That's like, what was I reading? Was it Flashpoint? Years ago. I remember, no, it wasn't Flashpoint. Villains United, it may have been. And it was one of those stories where in the first two, there was a DC crossover event. I read it I think I read it digitally, but I was just like, I just want to check out a crossover event just for the heck of it, because I never do. It was one of those stories where like the villains all got tough and they took out all the superheroes like in the first two issues. But of course, none of them died. They were viciously attacking him, trying to kill him, and then they knocked them all out, but none of them were actually killed. So that in issue 4, the superheroes are all going to get together and kick the villains' asses. It's just like, these villains, and there was this whole theme going on about how the villains were edgier and darker and using more violence than they usually use, but they still didn't manage to kill any of the heroes. And the ones they captured, they kept in stasis. And it was just like, we know what's going to happen. I think Mark Waid might have written it. I can't even remember. But it was just like, Michael Zulli, started at the beginning of the show showing some Puma Blues.
I didn't realize that's why you were showing that.
Yeah, Michael Zulli died.
I did not know that.
Yeah. 71, I think they said he was.
Wow.
I only know his works, Vertigo's Visions art book. Yeah, he doesn't actually have a lot of work. And I was just telling Paulo, I think it said it in the introduction to this Puma Blues book, which is his biggest chunk of work, that one of the reasons he eventually quit comics was none of his projects ever went through. They kept getting not published. He was the guy who drew, if you remember that Swamp Thing issue that Rick Veitch wrote where Swamp Thing meets Jesus, time travels and meets Jesus on the cross. That was a Michael Zulli drawn book that DC flat out refused to publish. And then there was a couple other things like that, projects that got all the way along the line, and then the publisher was like, no, thanks. Yeah. Tit Goblin says his 3-part story, Mirage Turtles, was what got me into comics. Still my favorite. Yeah, a lot of people love his 3 issues of Turtle. I've never seen them. I've only heard a lot of Turtles fans talk about them. I read the Miss Finch book. Yeah, this one came out in 2008. To me, we were just discussing, I like his black and white work better than, that's a pretty good color page right there, too. But I prefer his kind of black and white work to his painted stuff that he's got here. Let's see what else do. Oh, that's the Neil. See that? This is the Neil Gaiman library. There's not even a Michael Zulli library. If only there was.
Well, it's the same reason that there will never be a Gene Ha library. You don't find big runs of Gene Ha material either. Just like Zulli as Puma Blues, Gene Ha as a graphic novel he did a few years ago. But apart from that, his work is scattered.
Yeah.
And so is Zulli's.
Mm-hmm. Issues here and there. Look at the Paul Pope's early stuff, and look at Daniel Warren Johnson. Murder Falcon, Do a Dive Bomb. Imitation is the sincerest version of flattery. Yeah, I've seen that. The one thing, I think there's stylistic similarities, but one thing that sets Paul Pope apart from almost everyone else is I think he just draws. In terms of if you ever look at Paul Pope's work, then they say he's very fast. I think he just continually draws forward and never looks back. I don't know how much he plans out, but Paul Pope, and you can tell, flies by the seat of his pants when he makes comics, which is different than almost everybody else who makes comics, and it's not easy to do. So I always found that interesting about Paul Pope, but like Daniel Warren Johnson is much more sort of polished than Paul Pope, because Paul Pope like sacrifices polish for a sort of speedy energy. What was that one he did for Dark Horse? Well, I can't remember the name of it, but I liked it. There was something, I think it was serialized first. 100%. I think that might, yeah. So Batman Paul Pope, you're 100%. 100%, I think, was the name of the Paul Pope one that he did that I liked a lot. Have you read any Paul Pope, Paulo?
Nope. I've usually been, I don't know, I can't say that I haven't felt the attraction, but I don't even pay attention when something of his comes out, so I'm not looking for it.
Yeah, once again, he was one of these guys who you have to look for.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's got stuff scattered all over. He's got his own projects. He's had some DC projects. He's had projects here and there.
It does look interesting, a bit like chaotic storytelling, but the way the world is projected kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Year 100 was good. Yeah, that wasn't all written. It was more pain and growth storytelling. Yeah, but Daniel Warren Johnson is much more traditional than Paul Pope, though there is similarity in how they love. Like I said, Paul Pope is just, and it works sometimes and it doesn't work other times. That's what's different about him too. That sort of let it all hang out style. Sometimes you don't always hit it right. And I got some Submariners in the mail today.
Ooh.
I have the Last Temptation of Alex Cooper. Book one.
I was just saying I've never actually seen it.
I have a box full of them.
Oh,
from the Marvel Music time.
Okay.
Because during that time period, I was working for the conventions department, so we were pushing the whole Marvel music stuff. So we were having like parties, and at the conventions, we would have books to give away and stuff like that. I do have quite a few.
Did that get distributed through the direct market?
I don't know. It doesn't have anything on here to indicate that it has a barcode or anything like that. First printing. For more information, contact Marvel Music. There's nothing really to indicate. I don't know. But if you don't have a copy, I can send you one.
Okay. Put one aside.
I have I have a few that I had put up on eBay a while ago, and I don't know how many issues, if I have all 3 issues or if I have issue 1 and the graphic novel. I would have to check. It's been a while since I looked at them.
Comic Tracks does a nice one, Wilson. Another I've never heard about. Like I think that one was distributed
Beautiful
through
art.
music places.
But if it wasn't,
you
it
know
wasn't
what?
well
It may
distributed.
have. Because I know
The-
that we had something with Suncoast Video was one of them. I know that was the whole thing with the Marvel music stuff, was to get it in other places plus
Right.
comic book shops. I don't know why it wouldn't have gone to the comic book shop.
That thing
Other
should have
than,
gone to bookstores directly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Epic
Neil
Records release.
Gaiman, yeah, Neil Gaiman was already a hot commodity. So just put Gaiman's name front and center and watch the normies go flock. And then you tell the rock and roll people, hey, did you know there's a comic book with Alice Cooper? Go buy it. The second printing of the Dark Horse trade paperback uses the design that was made for the Portuguese edition of The Last Temptation, which came out here in the early 2000s, which was designed by my friend Hugo Jesus.
So I got 2 more Submariner books, and if you remember last week, I was talking about how they were getting too expensive. Like the ones I've gotten so far of the 10th anniversary Marvel 10th anniversary Submariners have been around $10 to $12 a piece. And in looking at this is Submariner Special, the nice Bill Everett cover on this. Pardon me, that one's number 1. That's a Sal Buscema, inked by Sal Buscema. And this is the nice Bill Everett cover. And I've been collecting these ones in a box for this Submariner era. And
is that original to it, or is that a reprint cover?
This is an original. Both covers are original, but the interiors are all reprints.
Oh, okay.
At least that's what Paulo told me last week. I haven't actually looked. But I of course wanted this one. But it was this one, and I think it was 44, the Human Torch cover. I was looking at around $20 to $30 for it. And I was like, I just don't want to spend that. On one of these that I'm just collecting kind of as a lark. So then these 2, and this cover's got some problems. It's got some folds in the middle. You can see some lines. I'd give this cover a 5 out of 10. And the other ones I've been getting are 7s. But to get a 7 of this, I was looking at $25, $30. I was like, I really don't want to. I mean, I'm supposed to be getting these as sort of a lark on the side, just kind of inexpensive things.
Yeah, they both reprint Tales to Astonish storylines.
Okay.
Okay.
So, and this one's about a 7 though. And it's funny because I looked at this one. Let me show you this one a little closer. And I was like, that's Sal Buscema. But the inking was really chunky on it. And I was like, I wonder if that's Sal inking himself, because I don't recognize the inker. Then I looked it up, and sure, again, it's Sal Buscema inking himself. As you can see, he's got these little little edges that come off his lines there to give it his chunky feathering, which, like I said, I didn't recognize as any other inker. I'm like,
Yeah, it's maybe I never noticed it, but that looks so much like Sal doing John. I first thought it was John Buscema, but when you zoomed in, yeah, those inks are Sal.
Yeah. So, like I said, and this nice Bill Everett. Here, we'll give you a closer look at this Bill Everett too. This is the one I just discovered. You can see, you can see those folds right there.
Yeah.
But I was like, that's okay. I'm just getting these for fun. So, like I said, I've been looking to get this one for a couple of weeks. I'm like, I don't want to spend $20, $30 on it. I just don't. So then one of these quick 3-day auctions came up that had the two of these with an opening bid of $3 and $7 on the shipping. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to bid $3 on them and be done with it. If I get them, if I get these cheap ones, I get them. I fully expected to be sniped because that's always what happens on eBay.
Mhm.
But sure enough, no one bid on them but me.
Nice.
So the two of these cost me shipped and with tax $11 and a little change. So I was like, you know what? That's a good price. I'll take I'll take that because I just kind of was not interested in paying $30 for this. But it's cool. Now it can go in my Submariner 10th anniversary collection. Once I get them all, I'll have to make a video.
Oh yeah. Do a whole review and then tell us why the Submariner was so
Yeah.
popular at that time period.
Yeah, I'm not gonna slab it. I'm not even gonna. I don't even want to like read it or anything. I just kind of want the covers because I like that era of Submariner, and I especially love the Bill Everett ones. So it's kind of like, I don't need to spend that much money. So I was glad that that auction popped up for $3. I was like, okay.
Yeah,
And I knew,
every now
and
and then
I was
you
like,
get a good
$3.
deal.
I wonder what the shipping is. Sure enough, the shipping was high, but still, it wasn't that.
Yeah.
I just,
I've
added that into the price in my head.
Yeah, lately I've been getting a few things here and there, toys and stuff like that for parts to try to rebuild an old snow speeder, and I find some great prices, but the shipping, it's like
Ooh,
it's like there's no reason because again, knowing how much it does cost to ship something and
mm-hmm.
knowing the weight of these things in my head, it's like that there's no reason for $8.75 shipping for an item that I'm paying $5 for, and the shipping should be $4 and change.
Yeah.
And it's just like So there's been a few of them. I've been slowly starting to do searches for shipping included.
Yeah.
So and I know that smart people will put it into the price because there's
Mm-hmm.
no real free shipping. You just
Right.
add it into the price, but at this point, it's like just the concept of having to overpay for shipping. It just kills you.
Yeah. Yeah. Shipping is killer with comics. Yeah. Especially
Yeah,
when you're buying buying these one at a time. It doubles, the price. Like most of the ones I've been getting are, $5, $6, $7 comics, but with shipping, they're $10, $12 comics. So it's like, oh well. But like I said, that's kind of what I'm willing to pay on eBay. That's fine because you're getting the exact I think when you're looking for that one exact cheap comic on eBay, it's never that cheap.
right.
It's for a $5 comic, you're going to pay $10. That's just the way it works with shipping.
Yeah, I tend to like when I was like, okay, I want to get Amazing Spider-Man 57.
Right.
Well, that's what I'm going to concentrate on. I'm going to ignore any other Spider-Man book that pops up because they all
Mm-hmm.
pop up once you just type in
Right.
whatever. And then it's like, okay, so I'll have my window open for eBay. Then I'll have a window open for Macari, for Poshmark, Hip Comics, and then what's the average and who has the better one. And you could get lost in the weeds of,
Yeah.
okay, so here's one that I like, but the shipping is too much. But if I get this one, and every now and then you pop one where it's like, oh, this guy has 3 books. One of them happens to be the book that I want,
Right.
but those other 2 books I can have in my collection because I wasn't focusing on those, but they are on the wanted list, and
Right.
sometimes that's where you can save here and there. But again, it is if you have patience, it could be some of it could be great because just by looking at it, sometimes you'll get someone who will try to go,
Right.
"Hey, are you interested in this?"
And Spider-Man 57, that's not a cheap book in terms of like it's not a $5 book.
Right, exactly. That's the other thing too. It's like I was trying to fill some holes, but at the same time too, it's like I have this old school mentality of I don't want to spend more than $20 on a back issue book.
Yeah.
So I'm okay if it's a 4.5 or whatever grading, because it's like I'm not going to slab it. I
Right.
just want everything to be intact,
You don't
and
even
you
want to
can
read
read
it.
it.
You just
Yeah.
want to have
Or
it.
sometimes, yeah, just I
Thumb
just want
look to the covers.
I want the cover to be attached,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be perfect, but again, it's one of those things where it can get a little nutty and insane.
Comic Crack had to get a shipping quote from Gutter Pop Comics for 4 issues of a mini comic called Automa, $1.50 each. Shipping for all 4 to Canada, 1905 US. Yeah, shipping. NAFTA does not include shipping between Canada and the US. I was like, what happened to, as like NAFTA doesn't apply to every average citizens. It only applies to companies to have things cross borders without tariffs.
Yeah,
I used to
that's why
buy
the
shop exclusive books.
that's why the Maastricht Treaty in Europe made sure that people movement and goods movements are equalized whenever moving inside the European Economic Area.
Mm-hmm.
You don't pay pay any tariffs for moving things. You pay shipping because it costs fuel to move things, but there are no tariffs in between the countries. So what's the point of you guys having a trading agreement if you still have to pay tariffs on things?
I don't know, because the trade agreement isn't for average people using postal service. That's why. I have no clue why Canada shipping is so much. I don't either. It's beyond ridiculous, especially when it's for mini comics that can get shipped in an envelope. Yeah.
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 Definitely.
And that's why it's like, especially older books like the 70s books. When I was searching for the Shogun Warriors, I used to see in every 50-cent bin.
Huh.
And I had picked them up as I saw them, and then one day it's like I would like to get them all, and it ended up being cheaper to just order a run from somebody who was selling them on eBay, just because the shipping wasn't too bad. It's 20 books altogether,
right,
or 24. I forget the number, but it's under 25 issues, and so I was able to get a stack of them, basically already collected. They weren't in the perfect condition, but they was like, I got them. I have that whole run,
right.
and it was cheaper to get them that way than try to get them individually.
Oh yeah,
just because of the whole
all that shipping. Mm-hmm. Let's see what comic I got at the comic shop this week. We got, amongst my 8 comics, the 5th and final issue of Beyond Real. This is the one that's sort of like the Matrix, and it actually has 4 artists on it and 4 colorists, because they were doing this thing where they're having different styles. There's like one style, because this is one that's like the Matrix, and they're going into different worlds. And then she shifts into this world that's all pencils. And this is a different artist. And then a couple of pages of that shifts back to this all color world. And more fancy color in this one. The visuals on this series have been terrific. Do we have another one? Then we flick back the everyday world. I don't know who did what pages. I think everybody worked on everything as far as I can tell. Then, of course, since it's the conclusion, there's going to be a trade paperback of it soon. But this is the one where a woman is in a car accident. Her boyfriend dies, and something glitches out, and she finds she's like living in a simulation. And she for some reason, since there's some glitch in it, she can see the simulation, and she goes on this quest to find someone who's running the simulation to bring her boyfriend back. So she goes like in this side area in these different worlds of the simulation that exist outside it and stuff like that, until finally in this one there's confrontations, and she kind of ends up like there's her and her boyfriend's in a coma, and we don't know if she dreamt all this or if it was real and she just went back into the simulation. So you're left with questions but it was very imaginative and really well done, and the art is terrific on it. So I'm really in it. It's Vault Comics. So I got to say I've really enjoyed these 5 issues. Writer Zach Kaplan, and let's see, the artists on this one are Fabiano Mascola, Jorge Corona, Luana Vecchio, and Liana Kangas. Colorist Jordi Belder, Machia Icono, Liana Kangas. I have no idea what all those names, what country all these people are from.
Yeah. Let me correct your pronunciation and let's find out where they're from.
You want me to show you?
Around the world with Pablo.
Okay, so Fabiana Mascolo. So the Jorge Corona. They're probably all from Argentina or Brazil. Fabiana Mascolo as an Italian surname, but she only has one N in their first name, so she wouldn't be Italian. Jorge Corona, Luana. If she's Luana, she's probably Brazilian. So it's Fabiana Mascolo, Jorge Corona, Luana Vecchio, and Liana Kangas. The Kangas can be from somewhere in the Baltic countries. It sounds like something from Lithuania or something. But with those first names, they're more likely Brazilian.
Yeah, I figured they had to be from outside the U.S. because there's a lot of non-U.S. indie artists these days. There's just tons of them, but and it obviously ain't their first comic.
Mm-hmm.
Their work is very well realized, but good. I recommend anybody who wants to read something interesting and see some good visuals, pick up the trade of this when it comes out.
Let me see Fabiana Mascolo's Instagram. Oh, she is Italian. But why does she have an Icelandic flag?
An Italian with an Icelandic flag.
Yeah.
You don't know what her parents are. There might be a
real international book here.
Yeah.
Scuola Romana dei Fumetti. So she's a teacher at the Rome School for Comics.
Interesting.
So let's see if we can find Luana Vecchio. Luana Vecchio also has an Instagram. She doesn't say where she's from. Yeah, I'm not gonna get any. She's been around for a couple of years. I guess she got recruited from DeviantArt because she has a lot of pinups, which is what you usually post in DeviantArt. She worked on something called Lovesick for Image, and it appears to be her. She appears to have written it as well.
Okay, Lovesick. I think I've seen that one. I don't know if I bought it.
Okay, she used to have a WordPress. And she changed her style to be more palatable to comics. She has some of her early work here, like she was drawing. Like she was creating paintings here. Yeah.
Well, you said one of them was a teacher. She could have recruited some of her students too.
Yeah. But I can tell her Luana. Yeah, Luana Vecchio is also Italian. But why is she called Luana when that's usually? See, Luana I'm pretty sure is a Tupi name, and so which would make her Brazilian.
Huh.
But okay, so if it turns out they're all Italians who don't have traditional
Italian.
yeah, but let me see the Liana Kangas, because this name only makes sense. Even then, she could be based in Italy, but still. Why are you self-proclaimed edge lord and dog mom?
Well, looks like all characters are trademarked Zach Kaplan and Fabriana. Which one? Mascolo. So I guess they're the ones who created it.
Mm-hmm.
They may have recruited other people to help. But good comic. Definitely, I'm glad I picked that one up. I remember it was the artwork in the first issue that caught my eye. And it was definitely good as I kept going with it.
Liana Kangas as an interview on canvasrebel.com.
Let's see. And the other one that finished this week was another Spawn book.
Mm-hmm.
Monolith. This is issue 3 of 3. Only $2.99. Who's doing? Oh, this is the one. Script plot: Sean Lewis, Todd McFarlane additional script, with the art by Valerio Giangiordano. It's
Valerio Giangiordano.
Valerio Giangiordano.
Valerio Giangiordano.
It's like Dick Giordano, only with the John in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
And Ulysses Areola is on the colors, but a solid, story. This is just one of the Spawns where you get his story, and Omega Spawn and how I think it's Omega Spawn, and how he came to Earth to try to take stuff over. It was just a nice little 3 issues. Nothing really to talk about. Stepped away for a second. What book is this? We were talking about Beyond Real. 5-issue mini. It's done now. They'll be collecting it in a trade. Really enjoyed it. Very imaginative artwork. And then I just wanted to show, like I said, this is just issue 3F3 of Monolith. It was a nice little story. Nothing to write home about. Just a solid B comic. I like a solid B comic. Mm-hmm. Want to dive into something from the past? I read. I don't know if you saw I think was this from this week, or must have been from this week. I on my top of the printer museum comics that I had all last week. I had this comic from 96, 97. Which one? This is the one I had out, called Cell. Nice cover on this one. By Derek Kirk, November 1996. Antarctic Press. But this was I haven't read this since 96/97. All I remember about it was I liked it and it ended suddenly. And like in the first issue, the first issue was interesting because, like I said, this is during the down years. 96 was like the Marvel bankruptcy year. And it was a terrible year for indie comics, especially. So, and
Yeah, you'd think that indie comics would take the opportunity to fill the void, but the truth is, if there are no Marvel comics coming out, people just won't go to the comic stores
Yeah,
to
yeah.
to look for other stuff.
And there this little editorial here in the front is, I think, must be related to Ben. The name is Joeming, Joeming, Joeming Dunn, MD.
Yeah, they're dentists, the Dunn brothers.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, they just do comics as a side
Oh,
gig.
so the brother. That's the brother of Ben Dunn.
Yeah,
Okay, I've never heard the name Joeming before. but in this editorial, he's begging people to buy comics, and he even said what you said. He's like, said something like, "I hope Marvel comes back," because what does he say? For every I think he specifically name drops what's his name? Rob Liefeld. He's like, for every, if Rob Liefeld could bring 20 people into the comic shop, maybe one will pick up some other books. So,
yeah.
so he's like, come on.
I always found
Basically,
that
comics
one
are
of the,
doing terribly. Come on, people, buy comics. Ask your retailer for comics that you can't find them. I know it's hard to find some new indie comics sometimes, but you got to buy them. But this actually has some nice art, especially like some of the art looks a little amateurish at times, but his main character, this woman here, is generally really wet. She's like the best drawn character in the book. So it's like some of his other characters are but when she's on the panel, he does a nice job with her. Where's her punching this guy for? Let me see if there's some panels in here where. And it takes place in this, like I said, there's only 3 issues. It takes place in this. I once heard it described. I can't remember who said this, but they were talking about like post-apocalyptic fiction or whatever, and he was talking about how usually there's no apocalypse in the real world. That most of the time in the real world, civilizations just decline in such a way where things are just worse than they used to be. It's not like there was any big event that made a civilization decline. It's just that there's not as much time and money to put into things. Things don't work like they used to be. There's nobody's being paid to repair things. So things just run down. So that's kind of the world this is taking place in, the future. And things are, it's not terrible. It's just that things are running down. And this is our lead character, whose name I don't remember at all. And almost nothing happens in these 3 issues. I could almost describe it as a slice of life comic that takes place in this rundown world. In the first issue, she's just, and there's a lot of like slice of life dialogue. I mean, a lot of it. I mean, look at these guys. This is like a gang. And they're just sitting there discussing, what are they discussing? They're discussing if anything can go faster than light. So there's these 3 gang members, one of them making fun of the other for having a girlfriend who was watching a science show, and the other guy defending that nothing can go faster than the speed of light. And the first guy saying, how would you know that? They just tell you. And it's just like, it's like 2 MAGA guys discussing science kind of thing. And then
No, black, even though it's talking heads in black and white with no backgrounds.
Yeah, it's very strange. And then this guy, our other, I guess, lead character, shows up naked in the middle of an alley. And our lead, this woman, in the alley the gang members are in, and this woman, once again, she's really well drawn.
Yeah, she kind of looks like she could work in a she would work as a character in a newspaper strip.
Yeah, she's a little Adam Hughes-ish, but like this whole page here is her arguing with her boyfriend over here. That's just a full page, not even talking heads, talking doorways mostly, of her arguing with her boyfriend, getting to fight and storming out. And then we get, let's see, 1, 2, 3 pages of her talking to a clown, a homeless clown out on the street. And it's just like, what? He's trying to tell he can hear. Do you want a balloon? So we get. It's just kind of. Oh, pardon me. A fourth. It's just like 4 pages of slice of life of her having this discussion with a clown about the state of the universe.
Yeah.
Like I said, I enjoy. And here are the gang members taking a leak on the naked guy. So she ends up trying to rescue the naked guy. A cop kind of helps her, but the gang members get mad at her, and they're sitting here discussing how they're going to attack her. So we get 2-3 pages of them discussing how they're going to attack her and sexually assault her, until the cop intervenes and goes and she drags the naked guy home. So this whole issue was weird discussions and her discovering this naked guy and bringing him home. I was like, all right, nice start. Not really a lot happening plot-wise, but we get introduced to the 2 main characters. Like I said, the art, especially the art drawing with her is good. Then issue 2, you think we're going to... By the way, spoiler, you don't find out a damn thing about the naked guy in all 3 issues. Then in this, she spends the first, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. She spends the first 4 pages trying to get the naked guy cleaned up and talking to herself because he's passed out. So we had a running monologue for 4 pages. Then we get, let's see, 1 and look at this. Look at how filled. Then we get her with her girlfriend at work talking, and look at how filled this is. This is her and her girlfriend talking about if she should break up with her boyfriend or not. Complete slice of life stuff. Until once again, and then we get a page of her talking to her landlady about the naked guy, who's tearing apart the place. Oh, by the other mystery thing was as she was getting him ready, she found he was clutching something in his hand, just this round thing with rings around it. So she took it, and meanwhile he's at home. He's back at her house, freaking out that his whatever that thing is missing. And then we get page after page. Look at that dialogue. That's her talking to her boyfriend. He's trying to make up with her, and she's like, "I'm going to break up with you." But it turns out he's her boss at work too, so he fires her for breaking up with him. After, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages of her talking to her boyfriend, breaking up with him, and her firing her. Look at a complete slice of life stuff, just weird. Oh, there's the thing that was in that guy's hand. So the whole second issue, all slice of life stuff. Then we get the third issue. We still have no idea what this comic is about. Third issue, I don't know. We're introduced to this guy making a speech. I don't know why. I don't know how. It's just like they're making a speech. Once again, there's a terrific panel of her walking.
How long had Antarctic Press been on the market when that came out?
Oh, a while. They started in the 80s, I think.
Okay,
Like a decade.
but was that thing were the comics creator owned, or they or
I think some of them are, some of them aren't. Let's see. Is this one? This one is creator owned.
okay? That explains why there's maybe the guy doesn't know how he doesn't know how to pace dialogue in action. He doesn't know how to do. He seems to have to be good at layouts, but he doesn't seem to be to know exactly which layouts are appropriate for the kind of scene. And there's no consistency in genre and storytelling type.
It's so bizarre, and it ends with, if you notice on here, it says all of a sudden it says 3 of 3.
Right. So you have 3 comics where nothing happens and the story goes nowhere.
And but at the end he tells us, greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. I have a few announcements regarding Cell this time around. So listen up, fellow cellmates. That's right, all 3 of you. First off, this will be the last issue for at least a while. When you read that, it's going to be forever. Before you start sending bombs my way or popping open your bottles of champagne, let me explain. Originally, I was going to keep continuing Cell until it was finished, but, well, due to circumstances within my control, I decided to put it on hiatus for a while. Basically, Cell is like a premature baby right now. It's not ready to come out. If I kept plugging away at it, the quality, the little that exists, would plummet faster than Marvel's stock. Once I have fully written out and know exactly where it's headed, I'll go forward with it. He was just writing it. He had no idea what he was doing. Now for good news. I'll be starting and finishing, hopefully, a new story called Hannah. Haana, pronounced Hannah. Don't ask why I didn't just spell it that way. In March. So I hope you'll join me. I never saw that one. So he had to, I imagine the sales weren't, it was 96, 97. I imagine the sales weren't great.
Yeah.
There weren't 19,000 like on that Puma Blues.
Yeah.
But it was just funny. He's like, I have to figure out what I'm doing. Because clearly he didn't have any idea where the story was going. He was just writing stuff.
He probably had the start of an idea. Oh, it'd be cool. And I'll figure it out as I go along. And there was a time where you could do that.
Yeah. There's a nice pen. Like, this guy was talented. He had some nice drawings, some nice layouts, like you said. And overwritten slice of life stuff. And I like slice of life. Like I said, I remember liking it, but I didn't remember anything about it. And I think the guy's got talent. I enjoyed rereading it. But it's another one of the things that never actually became anything. But like I said, that's a terrific cover. I mean, the other covers are good too. That's one of my favorites. It really evokes a mood. And there's
so it looks like the guy's name is actually Derek Kirk Kim, and he did something called Duncan's Kingdom at Image in 1999. But it also went nowhere. 2 issues came out. He did the art. Then he comes back into 2003 at Top Shelf. Something called Same Difference and Other Stories. So maybe things that he was working on and he finally matured. Yeah, these are reprints from his website.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, talented guy, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Derek Kirk Kim, you said?
Yep.
Wonder why he only went with Derek Kirk there.
It's easier to remember.
Although
Derek Kim could have worked as well. Maybe he was trying to hide that he was Asian.
Who knows? Like these issues, I'm gonna have to look up some of his other stuff. Just the late '90s was, as I can tell you from trying to publish a comic then, the mid to late '90s was the worst time to be publishing an indie comic. So
yeah,
it was tough. No one even was interested in Marvel and DC that much then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember trying to find a printer, and you just don't even think about distributing because you call it Diamond because they were the only ones left about that time, and
Right.
it's like they started changing the cutoff numbers, and
Well, that was a little later. That got
that was a little
even
later.
worse then.
Yeah, but it
That
was
was
just
that was around 98 or 99, I think.
Yeah.
yeah.
But I remember that all of the guys in the indies complained about it, and they said they were going to go with Cold Cut. But who, but who the hell ordered from Cold Cut in 1998?
Yep.
People are barely ordering from Diamond.
Yeah.
Wacky time, and we briefly mentioned it before how people were saying, "Oh, they can't wait for Marvel to close down their doors. It will be great because everyone's going to rush and buy all the other comic books." It's like that's not going to happen. If you like
No.
Spider-Man, you're not going to go over to Blue Beetle.
No.
That's not a.
You're not
It's
going to
not
run
a
over to
one for
sell.
one.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It never
not
happened.
at all. Never happened, and I
No.
don't know why they believed it would.
Yeah, what we actually need for people to say is, hoping that Marvel goes out of business, that we can finally get rid of this nonsense called comics and go do something more productive with our lives. But yeah, that's the problem. A lot of people don't like comics. They just like Marvel comics.
Yeah.
They're not, if they say they like an artist and the artist go, I'm going to go do something indie at whatever. Are you going to? They're not going to follow the artist there, and they will always complain. Why doesn't he come back to real comics? Which is do something with Wolverine, maybe.
I think that I've noticed an uptick in my local shop. People getting that Jeff Johns line of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, that's good. I mean, he's got a lot of big name artists working with him too. So I was like, oh, that's cool. Hopefully that'll be successful for them. And I want to see some, like I said, that the Transformer, the Energon universe certainly has been successful for Image. So
Yeah, but they have well-known mainstream brands behind it. It's not the same thing as Jeff Johns doing movie pitches.
But at least they have well-known artists behind them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good.
Although it's the type of thing that you can try to market, but you have to get you have to get the shops on board to help you and try and direct potential readers. Ultimately, even if people are, I only want Marvel, and there's always at least one thing that you look at and you're thinking, man, it's not Marvel, but it looks good. There always is. And you just have to try to figure out a way to sell that comic to that person. Mm-hmm. Which is kind of it's a personalized sale. It's not easy, and you have the store has to be in on it and try to and have to want it. I guess if we look at the history of selling comics, most of it is a bunch of wasted opportunities.
Well, it's tough because you really got to sell comics like one-on-one sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like I always try to help sell the comics when I'm in the comic shop, and someone comes in looking for something. I'm always there, as are most of the customers, to give suggestions and point stuff out.
Because the guy behind the counter is like,
no, they're trying to sell stuff, at least in my shop. It's a small shop, so. Liz Lapoff says, Rundown World. That is one of the periods in King's Dark Tower. I've never read Dark Tower or any of the Dark Tower. Have you ever read any of the Dark Tower comics?
I started reading the first Dark Tower book, not the comic, but the book, in college. I remember very little to none of it. And I got it because I was really into Westerns at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew the main character was called the Gunslinger. So I was like, all right, let me try a Stephen King book. That's like, Western. That's what I thought. That's what I thought going into it.
Right.
But I read it. I don't know if I finished it. It got to the point where it's like I have no understanding what was going on in it. and I kind of dropped it from there. I never went looking for the other books. I think I was at Marvel when they started doing the comic books.
Right.
I remember nothing of it.
Did they ever put out an omnibus of those comics?
I don't know. Because I don't even remember getting a copy of the comic while working at Marvel. It was during that period of where they just was like, why should the bullpen or anybody get books?
Right.
And it's like, because I'm distributing them. Maybe give
Yeah.
it to me because I'm giving them out. But again, it was one of those things where it's like I don't even remember getting that book. So I
Right.
don't know. I don't know the story at all.
I remember seeing them, but I never read any of
I
them.
remember a hardcover book coming out from Marvel that might have did. I don't know if they did more than 5 issues or something like that from that series.
I remember thinking to myself, I'll read it when the whole thing's done and it's collected. But that's a decade away. I'll never see that. And it's like, that was probably a decade behind us now. But speaking of not being able to understand something, what did I get this week? The Whisper Queen, a Black Sand Tale, issue number 3. This is that. I mean, the cover is just, you can barely make out what it is. With Chip Zdarsky, Chris Anka, Matt Wilson. But I had to read this twice, a second time right away. Because the first time I read it through, I was just so confused. I didn't really know what happened. Talk about written for the trade. This is the one about this woman on the upper corner right there. Well, no, there she is. The biggest one right there. She's this badass ex-king's assassin who got thrown into prison for the last 10 years for not assassinating the princess or something. This woman here is her friend and former assassin mate, and this woman here is the daughter of her friend and former assassin mate. And nowhere in this comic do they tell you that. You had to know that from previous issues. Meanwhile, this woman, the killer assassin, I think is looking for her daughter or son. She's on a quest. Someone wants to kill her daughter or son, so she's out there. I think the king or something. So she breaks out of prison and goes to find him. Meanwhile, I think it's the Whisper Queen is actually the name of the super tough. There's this, I think she's the Whisper Queen, is the name of the assassin who they sent after them, who is just this woman who opens up her cloak and everybody she's ever assassinated comes out and tries to kill you.
Amazing.
Yeah, she's assassinated a lot of people. So there's this group of 5 or 6 with our people among them who are like waiting for the Whisper Queen to show up so they can try to survive it. They're like, they're kind of like, ignore the people coming out of her. We got to get the Whisper Queen. But of course you can't ignore 35 monsters who are trying to kill you.
Right.
And so the whole issue is this one big fight. I don't even know besides these 3 characters, I don't even know who the other 3 or 4 characters are. They're just like people they ran into in the desert who they used to know or something. And I'm just like, who are these people? I don't know. But they're all fighting until at some point, these 3 are all fighting the Whisper Queen. And I think which one is it? And the storytelling isn't very good. Which one is? Oh, they see, and there's also flashbacks in the middle of it. Remember I told you that this woman got in trouble and was in prison for 10 years because she wouldn't assassinate the princess?
Right.
Well, the Whisper Queen assassinated the princess. So the princess is now in with the monsters who are trying to kill everyone. So she saw the princess and like froze for what reason, I don't know. And then somehow the Whisper Queen grabbed this daughter and the assassin in her cloak, where all the monsters come out of, and you somehow fall into this weird other space. And now they have to figure out how to get out of it. So this one here, the mother of her, she can use magic somehow too, is a magic user, tries to get them out of the space, goes in herself. But then, I don't know, it's also, as they're trying to escape the Whisper Queen's cloak, her daughter gets left behind, this one over here. So these two make it out of the cloak. The daughter gets left behind, and then they kill the Whisper Queen. Some guy just cuts her in half. And they're like, ooh, how am I going to get my daughter? I don't know. I'm going to have to search for her now. It's like, well, and then you find out that, I don't even know, she cast some spell to bring someone back to life, and there's always a price to pay. But since it was the other woman's daughter, she thought the other woman would pay the price. But now she's like, oh, this must be the price I have to pay. And then they're all just hanging out in the snow, waiting for the next thing to happen. And I'm like, it took 2 reads to figure all that out. And it's like, you had to know. It's like, if you came in with that, if this was your first issue, you'd be so lost. And the fight scene was just chaos. It was just like monsters and random people fighting each other. And then, and it's one of those where you're like, well, why didn't you just cut the Whisper Queen with a sword at the beginning instead of waiting to the end? But there was no real fight choreography that showed you how or why that would happen. It was just slash, slash, slash. Oh no, we have to kill the Whisper Queen. Chomp. You're like, oh well. Not the best battle issue you've ever seen. Still an okay book. I mean, I'm not saying it's terrible. It was just really confusing. Really, really one of those books where you're like, huh? This person is obviously not that good at fight scenes, or who knows, it's Chris Anka is the line art. Chip Zdarsky is the script. Who knows if it's a problem with the script or the line art? Like, there's this one panel here. Here is the dead princess shows up. And I don't even know what she's doing. She's grabbing that woman's arm, or she's shoving the woman's arm into her, or what is she doing? I don't even know. What kind of battle move is that? That's like in the middle of the fight. She's just like, here, let me grab your arm and shove it into me. They didn't tell us she had any kind of superpower, or she just the most confusing battle I've read in a while. And where is the... Oh, here it is. Here is when the Whisper Queen died. This guy just jumps up. Where is she? Yeah. He yells, this ends... Whoops, it's over this side. This ends now.
Oh, I hate that trope.
You just chop that head. Why did you do it in the beginning?
Yeah.
And we have no idea where she is and where he's coming from, where she is into relation to him. Just charges out of nowhere and goes, this ends now, and chops her in half. It's like, what? Where'd you come from? Why didn't you just say this ends now 10 pages ago? We wouldn't have lost all these people. Yeah, you're right. It's a terrible trope. It's just...
Yeah. Oh, I've even, because, as a letterer, there have been times where it would pop up
Right.
And I've mentioned it at least once to a writer. It's like, really, you want to use this in here?
You going with this ends now?
You going with this? It's like, but it's like, but why not? It works, and it's like, all right,
If you
fine.
think that's working,
Yeah, there you go. And so I've only ever told it to one, but I can't tell you how many times I've lettered it within the same series. Maybe
yeah.
not necessarily the same issue, but there was like 8 issues later in another graphic novel, but they're sister books. And it's like that was that first 4-issue miniseries, and you put it in there. Here's a different 4-issue miniseries, same universe, different characters saying it, but
Why don't you
it's
shout, this ends now at the beginning of the fight. Save us all the trouble.
yep, because it never ends. Then it's going to keep going.
This reminds me of when there used to be something online called the list of things that I would never do if I were an evil overlord, and one of them was I will never ever shout, "This cannot be! I am invincible!"
How can something big move so fast?
It's fast.
Yeah. It's like,
Happens all the time on the basketball court. We
no,
watch
this
them.
is impossible. You're watching it happen.
Oh, I got a couple of art cards this week.
Oh, what did you get?
Was just looking at for ACEO cards on eBay. Thank you. Let me show you here. Just sort of a random black and white drawing and a little color painting.
Nice.
And this is by somebody. Search ACEO PJ. PJ is their eBay PJ. That's all I got for you. Don't even have a name. Thanks for checking out my ACEO art. I add new items daily, and they were about $5 a piece.
Okay.
So, Scooter Ride and Sing, that's their names. I just thought they were nice. I occasionally like to buy some of these nice little paintings, little original art.
They're
So I
nice.
was looking this week.
I like Sing. I like that one a
Yeah,
lot.
it's a nice little piece. And Scooter Ride's just a fun little scooter ride painting. Skirt with a polka dot pattern on it. So they'll go in the ACEO collection. If you ever want to buy some little pieces of art, look them up. It's, what is it? ACEO art cards. I can't remember. Stands for something. Someone invented it in the
original
2000s.
art cards.
It's like editions and originals. I can't even remember.
Yeah, I don't know what it is off the top of my head. I knew it.
And so did I. I've known it and forgotten it many times.
Yeah, there are a few art clubs where people will trade
art cards, originals, and editions.
It was
ACE editions and originals. I think that's what it is.
I may actually have it written down on my own eBay listing for my own art cards. Let's see if I've ever wrote it out.
But yeah, nice little. I don't know how many of these I have now. 20, 25 that I've gotten over the years. I'll have to scan them in and put them in my digital files too. I like to keep track of things digitally. So I keep them right in here. I got a little drawer underneath which you can't get anymore. Oh, that's just the card that came with. The cards are down. Yeah. There's a random other one. ZombieToes.com. 2020, I got this one. But I like buying those. I'm going to put them all in one place.
I keep mines when I was getting them in a one of those baseball card holder albums. So I have one of those full of the sketch cards that I've purchased for my own collection, and then I got another one that has sketch cards that I
Yeah.
made, and then I got a set of sketch cards that were like when I worked
Ooh.
for like the larger companies.
Let me show
and I
you
get
this.
to review them.
I discovered these recently. They're not particularly cheap, but I like them. These are boxes that are binding. They're only, I mean, I don't remember what they were, between 15 and 20 bucks. So it's not bad for one, but we've got a ton. So this is all my own stuff in here. So it's just like a 3-ring binder in here. These are my own art cards that I've drawn for my comic strip. But I find these sit on a shelf so much better than binders do, because it's, a rectangle, cube. So
Right.
I have 3 of them. I'm going to keep buying them over the years until I replace my binders, because they're just so much easier.
I got a
To
similar set of those. Mine are in white that I keep my cards that I sell on eBay, my Star Wars cards in it. But I also have other ones as well where I put them in. The only thing I didn't like about them is like the plastic clips that holds everything in. But they've been very useful. I got mine
that
from bagsunlimited.com. Has
plastic
those.
clips are always a weak spot.
Yes.
But they're just like, I've got, giant binders full of things, and those are just so clumsy to move around and look through and stuff like that.
I just checked the eBay listing. I don't have the name other than calling it a sketch card. But I do recall there was a name that was that went out for a long time, which was original artist something cards or something like that. So it was like separate from the sketch cards because you were creating just artwork that wasn't necessarily connected to an IP or anything
Right.
like that.
Well, ACEO was coined by one specific woman in the aughts, to trade and sell sketch cards. So that actually has an origin story from one person.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. Let's see, what else did I get this week? Precious Metal. Speaking of some beautiful art, what's his name? Ian Bertram, Darcy Van Poelgeest, Ian Bertram, and Matt Hollingsworth. This is the prequel to Little Bird, and the art is just so imaginative.
Gutters.
A cross between, Robert Crumb and Mobius, kind of. And just
Interesting comparison.
it's this weird sci-fi story.
Well, I can see a bit of Tom Sholey in there.
Yeah. It's just definitely, I mean, it's just beautiful looking. The color is even nice. Where is? Definitely some European graphic album influences on it. Big comic too, in terms of page count. I think it's like a 48 page. Feels like 48 pages.
Was that a mountain of eyeballs on that last one, or was it just a big eyeball?
This guy is like a lot of eyeballs. Let's see, where can I find him? There's some flowers. Where's the eyeball guy? Well, he's just a big eyeball there. Whoops. Amidst a whole bunch of like little. He's a big eyeball, and he's got all these weird appendages.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know how many issues this is going to go. Oh, this is the one with the impossible to read indicia. Not only is it about, hold on, it might say number 2 of 6. I can't swear to it. Because the indicia is about 4 points in height and compressed. But good stuff here. 35 years before the events of Little Bird Book 1. I've read Little Bird Book 1 and liked it. I really can't tell you what the events of Little Bird Book 1 are now. What exactly are the events? I don't know. I think that was something against about a special child or something. Stay books. I use this every week. Care Bear.
I had to get rid of 2 of mine because they fell over, and I've dropped them many times before, but this time it fell and it hit in such a way it was like, well, I guess these are now retired. They had a good run.
These are from when Marvel was moving. I think they were getting rid of all these. So then when they're moving from like 387 Park Avenue South up to 40th Street, there was a lot of office clean out going on. So
yeah, that's
whoever the Care Bears editor was that used to keep their Care Bears comics in this, I got this comic / magazine holder.
That would have been Sid Shore's.
Yeah, Star Comics.
But by then they would have been reused and changed around. Also.
Not Sid Shore's. You're confusing him with Sid Jacobson.
Sid Jacobson, you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. So that would have been in his office, and then it would have changed a few times.
Right.
Yeah.
Sweden, Star Comics, Care Bears. It's funny. It's still kicking around. The stuff that's still kicking around. Oh, there we go.
Stuff was
still
made to
kicking
last.
around. Kicking Back, Marvel Picnic, 1996. That sits on my drawing table.
I still have mine in the area because I think I did a TikTok with it not that long ago. But I still have that as well. And I have a Frisbee from one of Mark Gruenwald's. No, the Frisbee is, I think, a Marvel Picnic. And I have found a coin from Mark Gruenwald's wedding. A plastic coin, like a poker chip.
Mind the Comics. Hi, everybody. Hi, how are you?
Hello.
That just reminded me. Did you see that they announced that DC Comics is teaming up with the U.S. Mint to make coins? Keep your eye open for announcements, because that was the extent of the announcement. They had like the woman who runs and I'm not talking like the Franklin Mint. I'm talking the actual U.S. Mint, who makes our money. And they had the head engraver, and they had whoever's the boss there who runs the mint. And they were like, well, so how exactly are you doing this? She's like, I don't know. Not sure exactly what we're making, but keep your eyes open.
Once again, someone with power, like, I have a great idea. Yeah. How do we do it? I come up with the ideas.
So what would they be doing? Silver dollars? Limited edition of a quarter?
I gotta figure it's like collector's coin. I can't imagine it's actual U.S. money. But
They make collectible coins all the time, but the fact is the mint, the U.S. Mint, that one is a weird one.
Look, we have limited editions of euros all the time.
Okay.
They all go to the collectors. Well,
Yeah.
they are currency. Nobody actually uses them as currency.
Yeah.
So
Well,
if you want to go with the mint and you want to create coins, they will have to be official currency. They just won't be used for it. They'll go straight to collectors.
It depends. The 50 states coins were something for a while. Every state got their own coin type of thing. So it's just weird when it's a IP.
They still do things like that.
Yes.
I mean, there are still like special issue quarter, but they go into general circulation. Of course, collectors can get them too. But they also go into gen. So I can't imagine DC coins going into general circulation. Liz Laffoff says a few years back they started licensing. I remember, yeah. Maybe I haven't seen any of this. I just saw that announcement this week, but I haven't seen any. Like usually when you see a special coin, it's like from the U.S. Marshall Islands or somewhere.
Right.
Some little government somewhere is like, official coins of Elvis or whoever they got. Or it's the Franklin Mint, who wants you to think they're the U.S. Mint, but they're not. They make plates.
Collectible plates. I was on their mailing list, so I would always get I was always getting like Star Trek plates stuff. And it's like, I'm not spending that kind of money on the plate. So I end up keeping the pamphlets because it has the exact same art that I like. And for a while, I would hang that up for a little while. It's like, oh, here we go. I didn't have to buy the plate. And they sent me this beautiful piece of artwork on the pamphlet because they want to showcase the artwork.
Mind the comics. What's the Batman Two-Faces coin? You can flip it and commit crimes.
There you go. It's sanctioned by the government. Why else wouldn't they give us the coin?
They want us to commit crimes.
I want a Green Lantern coin. Then I'm going to glue it to a ring and pretend that I'm shooting something.
Yeah. You'll have to see the I've been I have all of my photos from the 80s all the way to now, including a lot of Marvel photos. And I also just recently got Ed Lazzolari, writer of, he used to work with us in the bullpen. And he became a published writer too. He's got a book series. But he was in the Marvel bullpen in the early 90s. So he sent me a bunch of his pictures that he just discovered on a disc somewhere, but he doesn't have the physical pictures. He only has scans of them, and the scans aren't particularly high. They're like 200 DPI scans of 3x5 pictures. So I'm like, send them to me. Send them to me because I just got this gigapixel AI software that upscales things. Uses artificial intelligence to upscale photos. Does a really good job at it. So I've been working for the last few weeks on upscaling all the photos, making them nice, cropping them, color correcting them a lot. And then, I sent them back to him, and I also put them in my collection. I also have I have a bunch of Joe Coppensacco's photos who worked in the bullpen and a bunch of Jim Hostin's photos mixed in with, because I'm like, hey, give me your photos. I'll scan them in and add them to my collection to archive them. So just this week I was I keep all my photos also on my iPad. I've got 18,000 photos on my iPad because it's my photo album. It's really a pain in the neck to update them.
Right.
Because Apple does a really poor job with their software and updating. You would think I tell it to, here's my folder full of photos, which also has a whole bunch of other folders in it. They're all organized. sync this with the iPad. Okay, you would think it would go, okay, put this one there. This one's not there, but this, it doesn't do that. It erases the 18,000 photos and puts the 18,000 photos back with whatever new is there, which messes up all the facial recognition. Because there's also facial recognition in the iPad software, which I have not done all of because it messes it up so much, so many times. But this week I decided, since I put all these new, and I only add new photos like once a year because of this such a mess. I said, you know what? Let me see if I can get this facial recognition working. So I've been going through, and man, and it's really weird. So I started in the 80s with my college pictures, went all through my Marvel year. I'm up to about 1997 now, just putting names in. And I'm so glad that I wrote these names down back then, unlike the back of photos, and then transferred them to the file name, because I'm like, what's this person's name? I have no idea. It's amazing but it's like, it takes an emotional toll going through all these photos and putting names on them, just because it's like you're watching time go by, and things that all these people in these days were very important to us then, and now they're just the past. So it's really a weird emotional toll. But to bring us back to Paulo's point, some of the photos I was just naming, I found it was when Marvel had, probably a year or two after Marvel had computerized. And I was always the guy, this is before the digital age of cameras, but I always carried a camera with me, and everybody in the bullpen knew it. And they, if someone wanted to take a picture of something, they said, Jared, come over here, take a picture. But one day we all, do you remember in 387, the back door where there was the vending machines?
Yes.
So we all, there must have been from 10 to 15 of us bullpenners. We decided we were going to take pictures of ourselves as superheroes and then Photoshop powers in. So I have all these pictures of bullpen, they're all punching each other. At one point, Joe Cafansacco has the Green Lantern ring, and he's like blasting someone with the Green Lantern ring. So I don't have any of the stuff we ever did. I just have all the before photos, but they're pretty funny. There's like Dave and Darren, who are both like 6'4" guys, and Johnny is like grabbing them both by the collar, like he's got superpowers. And there's one picture of Lisa Hawkins has got Dave Sharp is like standing on a box or something. And Dave is like 6'4" to begin with. And like Lisa Hawkins is like grabbing him by the throat with one hand. So I know they were going to like Photoshop out the box, so it looks like she's lifting him. But this was stuff that was all hard to do back then. It's like all easy to do now with all Photoshop's, generative fill and AI stuff. But Paulo just saying, him wanting to give himself Green Lantern reminded me of that. It's like it was one of the last things I labeled today, was everybody pretending they had superpowers that they were going to Photoshop in later.
Nice.
The random fun we used to have in the bullpen. I got who is it? Johnny and Thomas and a few other people pitching quarters in that back. Do you guys know what? It's usually pitching pennies. That's what it was and it's just your basic gambling game that kids do. You did it with pennies back in the day, where you just need like a blank piece of wall, and you're just trying to throw the penny as close as you can to the wall. So there's, 3 or 4 of you pitching pennies, and whoever gets it close wins all the pennies.
Right.
Of course, this is the 90s, and we're adults, so we had to pitch quarters. There was a few. I was like, let's take a break and go. There was like a summer we spent, once a week we'd go out there and like pitch quarters, just to take a break. And Johnny and Thomas were always like, "You're just going to get us in trouble, aren't you?" They come out here and find us pitching quarters. They're like, "Where's the bullpen?" They're out back pitching quarters.
Nice.
Okay,
No,
come
but
on, nobody's going to notice.
I do remember when Pog was a thing for a short while through the 10th floor. Everyone
Nah.
was kind of playing Pogs, and it was like it was not easy to figure out. And once you did, it was I lost my Pogs easily. It was just like one of those, you lose your Pogs. And it was like for one day, I was like, I need some Pogs. Who has extra Pogs? Because I was so bad at it.
It was funny because in the bullpen, we were always looking for games to play at lunch. Whatever. We used to play Magic the Gathering, played Hero Clicks for a while. Some Dungeons and Dragon games got played at lunch. But one thing, do you remember the Karate Fighters? There was a time when we were in 40th Street, and in sort of the back corner of the bullpen, you were off to the side, kind of, right?
Right. I was at the beginning of the bullpen.
Right.
My office was side, so I would have to walk to the back where there was a back door that went to like the air conditioning unit, but there was that little row where we would occasionally eat lunch. That was
right. There was a table in the back. If you come out of your office and walk towards the windows on 40th Street, there was a little table there.
Right, yes.
Where we used to eat lunch. There was one time, and there was a Jack's 99-cent store right next to Marvel down on the bottom of 40th Street. Yeah. Well, one day the guys found at Jack's these Karate Fighters, they were called. And they were sort of along the lines of a rock. They were just these like little like action figures on a stick where we had these two little handles where you'd press buttons and they kick and punch.
Okay.
And so they're having like these karate fighter battles at lunchtime where whenever new karate fighters would come into Jack's, they'd get some new karate and they used to just stay there on the and press the two buttons and it's like, you'd knock the one guy over or something and that guy would win. And it was all fun and games until one day, I don't even know who it was. And they were all like 99-cent, $1 karate fighters. Someone went to Toys R Us and got one for like $10. And there was like no contest anymore because the $10 one was so much better than the crappy 99-cent Jack's ones that everybody as soon as that $10 one showed up, everybody lost interest in karate fighting.
Professional grade showed up and it stopped being fun.
No one wanted a karate fighter arms race.
Right.
That was one of the fun games we played briefly. Karate Fighters. And let's see, another comic I got is Ain't No Grave. This is one by Scotty Young and Jorge Corona. I think it's Jorge. That George is pronounced a lot of different ways. I hear Paulo pronounce it.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find where it's actually from because I haven't.
The art is terrific. The story is eh.
Yeah, it's Jorge Corona. It's from Venezuela.
Is it Jorge?
Yes, it speaks Spanish. It's from Venezuela.
Okay, but I mean the art is terrific, but the story is pretty generic. This woman is going to fight death so that her kid doesn't have to die. Okay, she's a badass. She's going to fight death. She's a badass gunfighter who's going to fight. It's not terrible or anything. It's just... And like the art is... Let me show you some of this art. The art is just terrific. It's a lot of fun. There's this strange, big, bosomy woman who's running the poker table. And there's stuff like in this one, she has to play this woman in this weird afterlife town. She's got she's got a player in poker in order to move on to the next station. But the woman, there's a nice. The woman always wins because she cheats. But it turns out our badass heroine is a poker cheat too. So she cheats and wins. The other one's like, wait, that ain't right. You didn't win. I was cheating you. And she was like, so? I won. You saw the cards. And the woman was like, all right, I guess I can let you go. You were a better cheat than me that time. And they just move on. It was like, all right. What was the point of that? I don't know. That's kind of what I've been saying about I really love the art. Really liked the Me You Love in the Dark, who those two did. Scotty Young is the writer, by the way. Really liked the thing the two did before, but this one's just eh. The art is an A. Overall, it's a B, which is good. It's only like a 5-issue series, so
Right. Okay.
not that big a commitment on it. It's enough. It's enough. It's good enough for me to stick with the 5-issue commitment.
Mhm.
I'll go with that. Which is what's good about buying the periodicals rather than the trades. When I back from like 2008 to 2010, when I was buying a lot of trades, I ended up with, because I like to try new things too, I ended up with a shelf full of trades that I didn't like. So it's kind of like when you buy issue by issue, you can go, I don't like, it's good enough to stick with. It's not good enough to, I end up with a whole bunch of issues I don't like, but not a whole shelf full. I was quickly being overwhelmed by collected editions that were not that good. And especially since a lot of collected editions you can get for cheap, you can really get overwhelmed. Like you go, $5 for a trade paperback. I'll try that for $5. Next thing you know, you get 10 trade paperbacks you got no interest in. What do you do with them? Like, oh, what do I do with these now? I don't want them. I can't. Nobody wants them. I can't give them away. Nobody wants to buy them.
You start doing a shelf of disappointment review. So this way, at least you get one more look at them before you go, well, this was bad, and this is why.
Disappointed in this one. I'm going to send, that reminds me, I have to mail some to my, I've got a cousin who's now a librarian in a small school library down in Florida. I'm like, I'm going to mail you some trade paperbacks that I can't get rid of. Put them in the library. Let's see, what else do I got here? Oh, 2 more comics. Ice Cream Man, issue number 40. What was interesting was this was the second part. Decompression in a Wreck Part 2. I was not expecting if you remember me talking about last month's, it was all about a car crash.
It's an in joke about comics. It's the most decompressed storytelling that they could do about the most immediate event.
Yes, that is definitely what it is, which is why I was not expecting a part 2. But in part 1, the family who hit this truck died, and went through all their lives, this and that, flashback, their futures, and in this one we go through the 2 guys who were in the truck, and really well done, I gotta say. What is this? A storyteller doesn't really need 5 panels to show his protagonist flying through the air towards the ground. But I'd argue that maybe it serves a certain purpose. So here's 5 panels of the guy flying through the air before he hits the ground and dies. Though I question his truck physics. Because Well, in the cover, it looks like he's got in the. I think they said his seatbelt wasn't clasped, so he went the driver. But I think it's pretty rare for an actual driver to be able to go over the steering wheel.
Right. You don't over there. You don't go over the steering wheel.
Yeah,
And in a truck like that, which is very narrow, if you don't have a safety belt, you're going to crush your ribs against the steering wheel.
yeah.
Which
Hit
will be
your head on
lodged.
the steering wheel.
The steering wheel will be lodged somewhere here inside your body.
Right.
You can't see, but it's below your solar plexus.
Yeah. That's why I found it odd that they sent him
Mhm.
through the windshield.
No. Passengers in the rear seat will fly if they don't have seat belts on.
Right.
They will fly over the heads of the people on the front seats and crash against the windshield.
Especially since the guy in the passenger seat survived because the airbag saved him. I was like,
no
airbag in the driver's side.
Oh, there's supposed to be one that's larger than
Yeah.
the other one. Yeah.
You would think if an airbag say that's why I found it weird that they had the driver go through the windshield. That's the only criticism I have of this. Why didn't they just have him die, not go through why didn't they have the passenger go through the windshield and die? I don't know.
It's
I
easier
just found
for the
that
passenger.
a strange choice. But other than that, good issue. Another good issue. And then, it was funny. The driver of the truck, what does it say, is a writer. He's got like a PhD in writing or something they mentioned, but he's a truck driver. And he and his buddy, he had just sold, he got his first published story in the New Yorker. So he and his buddy were celebrating that. And then at the end, they give you the first published story in the New Yorker, which is all about him and his buddy driving truck. But it ends with his buddy who survived reading his story in the New York. There's so much meta stuff going on in Ice Cream Man. This is it. You can stretch seconds into minutes if you so please. And hey, sometimes it might even serve an artistic purpose. Here's Mike opening the magazine on a park bench. Here, just a second or two later, we're a little closer. And here, closer again. 4 panels of this guy getting ready to read his dead friend's story. One final stroke of Judd's magic. He's the dead friend, Judd. Turn the page if you want to read it, or take your time. Let it stretch out for as long as you like it to. What is your soul telling you what to do? I read this story right away. There's the story, his friend's story that he's reading. So there's so much like meta stuff going on.
So you actually read a text page in a comic?
I did.
The thing that nobody ever does, and all because you've been reading a decompressed comic.
Yeah, and it was a story, so that went along with the comic. I'm not telling you I read those Savage Dragon letters pages, because I don't. But man, Ice Cream Man is a very, very creative comic. Really, it's wow. It continues to blow me away with its sheer imagination. And one last comic I'll show you this week is Love Me, a Romance Story. I think this is 4 issues, Mad Cave Studios. And I'm buying it because of the Stefano Carticelli art, who is the guy we get our Pink Flamingos from. And this is the story, a robot loves there's our robot in love. And last issue, he took on gangsters to try to save a woman, but he doesn't know where the woman is. And now the gangsters are after him. There's the woman he's trying to save as a little girl. They give us some backstory. And it's just, And you can get the collected edition in August. So I think it's 4 issues, did I say? But I'm enjoying it. Like I said, the art is just so fun that I really like it. Who's the writer? Francesca Perillo. They're the cops. But it's fun stuff. If you like stories of robots in love that where he has to take on gangsters, if you're a gangster, don't try to beat up a robot, okay? It's just you're not going to succeed.
Yeah, let the X-Men do it.
Yeah, let the X-Men do it. They can handle robot beating up. But from now, anything Stefano Cardacelli draws is going on my pull list. I enjoy his work. It's good stuff. Is there anybody on your must-buy list, Paulo or Wilson? What artist?
I'm not following anyone anymore, really. Anytime something that Michael Golden would do, I would search it out.
You're back to following characters again, right?
Well, yeah, I'm kind of back to following characters. The only artist that I followed was like Michael Golden.
Right.
But I've been maybe looking for old Michael Golden stuff. Because he
Ah.
did so many covers. And it's like, I did like that cover, not necessarily the run on certain, because, he would just do the cover, not the books. So
Those Micronauts covers, he's got some nice ones.
right, exactly. So like he was one that would be someone I would follow, John Romita Jr., but they never really left Marvel all that much.
Yeah.
When John went over to Superman, it just didn't look right to me. So it was like it wasn't anything there for me, I guess you could say. So there's not really anyone. Maybe Bernie Wrightson way back when.
Did you buy the Michael Golden artist edition?
No, I did not pick that up.
You should get that. But John Romita Jr. thing I liked from DC? Do you remember? I don't know. It must be 5 years ago now, at least, when they put out a whole bunch of new heroes. And they had one called The Silencer.
Yep.
That John Romita Jr. did. At least he did some of the issues. That was a pretty good comic. I remember enjoying that one.
No, I got to track that one down. That I did not see. But I wasn't really getting books 5 years ago.
It was, I think I read it digitally. It was tangentially Batman related, because the Silencer was this woman who could create like a zone of silence around herself and other people. And she was an assassin for Talia al Ghul, and who was her organization? I can't remember.
The Assassin's Guild.
The Assassin's Guild. But the Silencer wanted to retire, and Talia al Ghul was letting her retire, but then dragging her back in or something. I said, a female Punisher, but with superpowers. The superpowers were the silence, and she used it creatively too. Let's see, Captain Nut. My favorite thing from John Romita Jr. is the page he signed from the Marvel Tryout book. Ah, not sure he appreciated my inks though. That's kind of cool. I don't know many women that can remain silent. Just saying. Well, if it was their superpower,
right? If it was easy, they'd all do it.
Yeah, I remember enjoying. I can't remember who wrote it.
Me neither.
And I was like, one day, like I think I read it all digitally, so I was like, I'll have to get the issues one day, but I never did. Oh, it was a weird thing about reading this X-Men issue for me? Ads. since I never read Marvel or DC, I never read comics with ads in the middle of the comic. So it was really strange to read a comic and then come to an ad. I was like shocking. I was like, why is there an ad page here? Oh, it's Marvel. And it's like, I don't know why they do that still. Because it's not like they're paid ads. They're all house ads. So like, why interrupt their own comic with an ad? Oh, there's that. This was funny. This series of ads right here. The Marvel Art of Storytelling, an online course by Proco or whoever it is. I guess you can. I think I mentioned this, but I forgot about it till now. Like a month ago, I was flipping through a Marvel, and I had an ad like this for their online course, and it was for inking. And they had various things in the ad. They showed various ways to ink, and the comic had no inking in it. The comic itself not only had no inking in it, it had none of the techniques for clarity that they were showing in the inking stage. And I was just like, man, you're talk about giving people some knowledge that they don't need anymore. You don't even use inking in your own books, yet you're showing them how to ink. Some women can give you the silent treatment, that's for sure. I was ghosted many times before the word ghost was around.
Yeah, I think I went to I saw one of those ads and I went to it and it was like, it wasn't too far into it until you hit a paywall. And it's like, oh, I'm not buying any of these courses.
Is it a paid thing? Yeah, I thought it was, but it wasn't.
You could get to a certain point,
right,
and then you could sign up for classes.
Yeah, save 20% on courses. So it's actually watch comic artist Ryan Benjamin pencil the Hulk from start to finish and learn how you can do the same. Yeah, sure. All you got to do is watch a professional artist work, and you're a professional artist. It's
there
like,
you go.
No. That's not how it works. I mean, sure, if you're an amateur artist, you want to see the professionals work, but
right, you want to see it, you want to look and think by watching it, osmosis, and then I could do it too.
Yeah, if
but
only.
But it also depends, because sometimes you could just watch an artist do it and you just have fun watching.
Yeah,
I've watched Bob Ross for a long time. Took 2 classes. I have a painting. And it's like, okay, I don't like oils. I don't want to work in oils again. But it was like, oh, that was fun to do. But it didn't convert me to be like, I'm going to do more oil paintings. But it was a fun class to take.
Right.
Because I got to take it from someone who was taught by Bob himself. So it was like, I was 1 degree away. So it was like, that was actually a fun class.
They're actually 2 degrees away because that was not Bob Ross's technique. He was taught it by the guy who came before him. Oh, what was his name?
Oh, who had the show before he did. Oh,
yeah.
I forget his name.
Oh, me too. He was German. Yes. We make the strong mountains. Oh, what was his name? Not Anderson. Bill Alexander. I think that was it. And he taught Bob Ross the technique. And when he retired, Bob Ross took over and just replaced all the names on the art supplies. Bill Alexander. I think I have a palette knife. There it is. This was the palette knife that Bill Alexander used. So when I was in college, I got one too. W. Alexander knife, Canada. I don't know if you can still see it.
I could barely see it, but yeah, it's there.
But this was the knife he'd use to make his mount, scrape out the mountains and stuff. And I think Bob Ross used the same but they just took W. Alexander off of all the art supplies and put Bob Ross on. Same stuff. I always found that funny.
So it's
Wow,
like the first season of Mission Impossible, the guy everyone forgot about.
it's fun. It's funny to think of how long I've had some of these art supplies. 'Cause I think I remember buying this in 1986 in where was it? In Westchester. I can't remember what the town was called now. They had an art supply store. Portchester. I think it was in Portchester in Westchester. And they had an art supply store there. We went on an art supply run. And I was like, ooh, I want to get one of those. I've seen him paint with those. I never paint. I use it as a regular palette knife sometimes to mix colors, but I don't think I ever painted strong mountains with it. But yeah, he used to. They would use this to draw and to do all sorts of stuff. So I'm so. My goodness, I have so many old art supplies. It's amazing.
I have art supplies and stuff that I've used only once.
Oh, yeah.
That I got it for a class. Print block that I had to get like the roller for the ink.
Oh yeah.
I only used it for that class. I used it a bunch
Right.
of times, but only used it for that class, and I still have the ink roller itself. I think I might even still have paint from that class in jars somewhere that I just put it in one of my drawers, and it's like, all right, if I need paint, I have
think
paint in here.
it was sometime last year. I think I mentioned this. I gave away a ton of my art supplies to my students because I love trying out new art supplies.
Right.
And so over the years, I bought stuff. There's plenty of stuff I bought, tried out once, and it's been sitting there for a decade. And I even have like behind me here, I have these all sorts of different types of pen and marker holders. I must have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 or 10 of those back there, and they were all filled up with markers. And they weren't that doesn't count. My first string markers, which are right next to which I have 200 of to my left. So those were like my second, third, and fourth string markers that I would get a marker set to try out. And I was like,
Right.
oh, I should try out a new marker set. Then I went, I got nowhere to put them. So I put together like 3 or 4 marker sets and gave them away to 3 or 4 students just because I'm like, I'm not using these. And I can't buy new ones to try out because these ones are here. So I ended up I had about 12 students that semester in my illustration class. So I put together like 12 different sets of art supplies and gave them all one. That's how many extra I had that I hadn't touched in forever.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, we should wrap it up for the week.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow is fish day.
All right. How is the Euro soccer thing going?
The finals are on Sunday. Spain plays England.
And who are you pulling for?
Nobody. I will be watching IndyCar in Iowa.
All right. So here's some confetti for y'all and some balloons. And everybody have a good week out there. And we'll catch you next time.
See
Have
you.
a good one.